I'm Lauren Adler, and welcome to our École Chocolat Hangouts. Today we welcome Art Pollard of Amano Chocolate and Brian Graham of Fruition Chocolate Works. Milk chocolate is still the most popular flavor of chocolate across the globe. As a modern, informed, and passionate chocolate lover, you probably tend to like your chocolate dark. But are you missing a lot of great chocolate flavor by automatically bypassing milk chocolate? We say a resounding yes. In this discussion with two artisan chocolate makers, we will first talk about the different types of milk chocolate and how they're made. Then we talk with our chocolate makers about the challenges they face in producing a great milk chocolate, decisions ranging from which beans to use and determining the ratio of cocoa to sugar to milk powder. Let's start with a quick overview of how chocolate is made. In the chocolate making process, a dry milk or cream powder is added with the sugar to the ground roasted cacao beans during the refining or second grind step. The ground roasted cacao bean is called cocoa or chocolate liquor. You'll hear us use that term during the discussion. The addition of a milk or cream powder is really the only difference between a dark and a milk chocolate, and that is how it should be. Only chocolate labeled milk chocolate should contain milk. However, it has nothing to do with the FDA definition of what can be called dark chocolate, and many mass market chocolate bars do include milk. Please keep that in mind. Also, the extra ingredient of milk powder automatically reduces the percentage of cocoa liquor in the final chocolate. So most milk chocolate will have a lower cocoa liquor percentage than dark chocolate, where the only ingredients are cocoa liquor, possibly added cocoa butter, and sugar. Milk chocolate flavor has a lot to do with the type of milk or cream product that is used by the manufacturer, as well as the strength and taste of the cocoa liquor. There are different milk products used to make milk chocolate, and milk caramelization plays an important part in flavor. The three main types of milk products used are condensed milk, milk powder, and milk crumb. So let's talk about those three. First up, condensed milk. Whole or skim milk is preheated to 180 to 185 degrees Fahrenheit, also known as 82 degrees to 85 degrees Celsius, for 15 minutes. Sugar is then added to the hot milk, and the mixture is evaporated under a vacuum to form a concentrated paste. This is used more in the UK and Europe than the US. Second option is milk powder. Milk powder is produced using a drum or roller process, or the spray process. In the drum or roller process, the liquid milk in a vat is picked up by large heated rollers. As the roller rotates, the heat from the roller evaporates the moisture, leaving a film of dry milk on the roller. This film of milk is scraped off into flakes before the roller again makes contact with the liquid milk. In the spray process, concentrated milk is sprayed into a chamber where hot air is circulating. As the moisture is evaporated, the particles of milk fall to the bottom of the chamber where they are filtered out of the air. The third option is milk crumb. The essence of the milk crumb process is the Maillard reaction between the milk protein and sugars, which produces a caramel-like flavor. Sugar is added to evaporated milk and then condensed to a concentration where the sugar will start to crystallize. The condensed mixture is kneaded with cocoa liquor to form a very thick paste, and the crystallization continues. Then the paste is dried in vacuum ovens to give it the final toasted flavor. Now that we're somewhat familiar with the milk chocolate making process, let's get the real experts, our chocolate makers, involved in the discussion. So Art, your Akimari milk chocolate has gotten great reviews. It's one we love and carry. What made you decide to make a milk chocolate?
My wife did actually. um, my wife's from Japan, and the most popular chocolate in Japan is still milk, and she kept telling me that I had to do a milk. If I didn't do a milk, that's missing out this huge market opportunity. And after you hear that for a couple of years, you decide that it's good to listen to your wife.
Okay.
And so I went on this, went through all the different beans that we had access to, and it worked out really well that the Okamari bean that we already were using makes a really nice milk chocolate. So we were really excited that we didn't need to find a new bean just for that.
Okay. So the FDA stipulates that milk chocolate must contain only 10% or more cocoa liquor. You've gone with 30% cocoa liquor. How did you decide to do that?
Uh, I I think it's really important when the milk chocolate that you have a balance between the liquor or the chocolate flavor and the milk. I've had milk chocolates which are, on the dark side, which to me taste like not so great dark rather than a really good milk. Um, and I've had other milk chocolates which are really heavy on the milk side, and you're left wondering where the chocolate is. So for me, it was just about finding a balance where you had some nice, rich chocolate flavor, but yet the milk still shone through, and vice versa.
What kind of milk powder are you using, and why did you choose that option?
It's a whole milk powder, and we went through a number of iterations just trying to find the right manufacturer and the right powder for that. I remember an early comment from I can't remember if it was John Scharfenberger or Robert Steinberg, but they said that it was harder for them to find a good quality milk than it was for them to find good quality beans.
Wow. Okay. And you said you chose the Akimari beans just because they made a good milk chocolate, or was it? Talk to me a little bit more about why Akimari beans for this.
Well, milk Mari beans are generally fairly mild, so the flavors that were there tended to play very well with the creamy notes of the milk. I think one of the things that's really important to bring out is that your depending on the bean, some beans work really great with milk and others do not. So, for example, I tried making a milk chocolate with our Dos Rios, which tastes like bergamot orange and lavender, and it was a resounding failure. And just those flavors just don't mix well together. And some beans which perhaps might not make a good dark chocolate can actually make a really nice milk chocolate. So so it's always it's a whole new world to explore, really.
Okay. So, Brian, let's see, you get rave reviews for your brown buttermilk chocolate 43% made with the locally churned Ronnie Brook Farm dairy browned butter. What got you started making milk chocolates, and what do you think makes yours unique?
We started making milk chocolate because we're also a confectionery business, and we needed great milk chocolates in our arsenal to make our confections. So that's how we started out. We do two main milk chocolates right now. The 43% brown buttermilk made with Dominican beans from Oco Caribe. And we do a dark milk. It's a 56% with Peruvian beans and a little bit of Peruvian warm spring salt refined into it. And that just gives us, we started out making these milk chocolates mostly for our confectionery products because we weren't really sure at the time if we were going to sell a lot of it in bar format, if we were going to be able to sell milk chocolate. And it wound up that we were using them for confectionery products, and then we started selling a little bit, and then we started selling a lot more just as solid bars. So that's really how we got into it.
Now, you've upped the cocoa liquor percentage in this one to 43%. Why that percentage?
I think, well, I would just echo what Art says about balance, finding the right balance of sweetness to milkiness to chocolate flavor. So we decided 43% is kind of the sweet spot, and it's a little bit darker than most mass-produced milk chocolates, and that's mostly because I don't necessarily like overly sweet chocolates or overly sweet things in general. So we played around with first 38% and then a 45%, and we just kind of settled on somewhere in between, and 43% is where it wound up.
Okay. And how did you choose the Dominican beans for the brown butter and the Peruvian beans for the dark milk with sea salt?
We chose the Dominican beans for the brown buttermilk. They just have this. We give them kind of a medium dark roast, which really helps that intense cocoa flavor come through in the lower percentage. And the Peruvian beans for the 56%, they're a bit more acidic, which plays really well with the salt that we added to it. So that's why we used a slightly more acidic, more aggressive cocoa for that one, and a more mild, kind of more subtle, deep, chocolatey flavored Dominican bean for the brown buttermilk.
Right. And Art, what can you tell me what challenges you faced in making your first milk chocolate?
Well, there's this balance, as we've been talking about, that you need to get between the milk and the chocolate flavor. But the other thing that hasn't been brought up is you also end up with balance that you need in terms of viscosity. And so if you don't take that into consideration, you end up with this problem where you pour the chocolate into the molds and it stands up like Mont Blanc. So it's this constant balancing act, and so it took a lot of iterations for us to get the formula just where we wanted it. And mouthfeel is just an incredibly important part of the entire chocolate experience. That not only do we have to get the flavor right, but we had to get the mouthfeel just perfect.
Are you experimenting with any other flavors or any other types of milk chocolate that you can talk about?
I can't go into specifics, but we do have a milk chocolate that we've been really excited about for a while. We're just waiting for the right time to bring that out to the world. It's spectacularly good. So, okay. Out there on the horizon. But we've got a lot of out there on the horizon, spectacularly goods. We just need to get to them.
Okay. And Brian, did you face the same challenges as Art in developing your first milk chocolates?
Yeah, because there's so many variables at play and so many more ingredients to deal with. It did take quite a few iterations before we settled on a chocolate that was balanced both flavor-wise, and Art brought up a good point about viscosity. Making a chocolate that we can do everything from molding into bars, but also do gel molding for confections, which really requires a low viscosity chocolate. So yeah, the brown buttermilk especially was the most challenging chocolate we've made.
Okay. Have you got any new milk chocolates in the works?
Yeah, we just did a limited release. It's not out yet, but it's a very high percentage milk chocolate. It's a 68% made with Marañón, the pure Nacional beans from Peru, and that is really, really fantastic. And I'm really excited to share that one. So hopefully around the holidays we'll be able to start sharing that.
So I have a question for both of you. Do you have to market milk chocolate differently from dark chocolate, and do you notice any different sales trends or regional trends or time of the year seasonal differences when marketing milk chocolate? Art, why don't you start?
Well, our focus is to be frank, is still on the dark, but we, I don't know. Our customer base is clearly the dark chocolate lover, and we see the whole milk thing as really it's a new opportunity. I mean, like what? The thing is that milk chocolate is very popular, like with the average consumer, right? But then the dark chocolates are very popular with generally your foodies, and oftentimes those are two totally separate market groups. And so it takes a little bit of education sometimes to show the foodies that, look, milk chocolate can actually be good and it can actually be respected. And when that happens, then people are actually really surprised that they like it as much as they do.
Brian, any thoughts on your side?
Yeah, I've found that we're most successful with the brown buttermilk chocolate locally, and I think that's partly because and it's too early to tell because we only introduced it a month ago. But having the name of the partner dairy farm on it, which is very popular in this area, it's instantly recognizable, and people are much more likely to pick that up and taste it. And I think once they do taste it, they can get hooked pretty easily. And to what Art said, we're certainly focused on dark chocolates more so than milks. But what we found too is that for instance, the 56% dark milk that we're making is sort of like a gateway chocolate. It is a higher percentage milk chocolate that most people probably haven't tasted something of that high percentage milk. So for the dark chocolate lover, this might be sort of the gateway into exploring lighter milk chocolates, and vice versa. For people who think they don't like dark chocolates, maybe they'll taste this one. They'll start progressing up to darker chocolates.
Does the fact that the milk chocolate contains less cocoa and therefore less of a perceived health benefit, do you think that makes any difference? Art?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there is this perception that chocolate that has less than 70% cocoa solids is not good for you, and that everything that has more than 70% cocoa solids is. And in the end, you're just talking about a percentage. So I think that does tend to hurt milk chocolate in a lot of ways. I get quite a few people that are very concerned about the percentage in relation to health. They're like, oh, what percentage is this? And then like 70%. They're like, oh, 70%. That's like it's supposed to be good for you, right? Like, oh, you should enjoy it first. Good food should be enjoyed, and oftentimes if it's good food and you enjoy it, it just works out really nicely that it's really healthy for you. But milk chocolate does get that reputation as being a little bit more on the candy side than on the serious food side, and I think that's just something that milk chocolate just needs to work through. It does have typically a little bit more sugar, but you are picking up quite a bit in terms of milk. So, the dairy farmers should be happy, right?
Brian, any thoughts to add to that?
Chocolate should make you happy, and I think happiness is part of health. And I think that the chocolate that we're making and the chocolate that Art is making, you don't necessarily need a lot to satisfy you. So, there is the perception and the reality that milk chocolates are probably less healthy, but we're not trying to sell chocolate on its health benefits. We're just trying to make really delicious chocolate. And the fact that if there are some health benefits in the higher percentages, that's great. It's great for all of us. But we're trying to make something that's satisfying. You only need a little piece of it, and it brings you some joy, and that is a health benefit.
Well, so you both obviously think there's a place for fine milk chocolate amid all of the hype around dark chocolate. Is there a positive future for fine milk chocolate, Art?
Yeah, I think it's fine milk chocolate. I think it's just starting to be explored. I think there's a lot of craft chocolate makers that are popping up on the scene, and I think that that's going to be a big future area for them. The big problem that I'm expecting that they're having is just sourcing the good quality milk powder. The milk powder they use for making good quality milk chocolate is critical, obviously, and the carnation stuff that you buy in the grocery store isn't even close in terms of flavor to really good quality milk powder. Good quality milk powder. I've explored a number of them, and one that I use frequently tastes just like very, very farm fresh milk. It's almost indistinguishable from fresh milk because that's how good quality it is. And there's another one that I really like, and it's all yellow and buttery in terms of flavor. There's a lot of different flavors, milks out there, and a lot of different origins in terms of flavor. So like the New Zealand milk powder is very different than something you're getting out of Wisconsin, say.
Well, so that I'm curious, Brian, since you're working with a local dairy farm, were they producing powdered milk, or did you ask them to, or how did you go about that? Getting them to do this so you could make milk chocolate.
Sure. So we're not using milk powder that's produced by the same farm that's producing the butter. We're using
Okay.
Yeah. So we're using this great Californian non-fat milk powder, and then all the way on the other side of the country, and then we're using butter that's made right here in the Hudson Valley, and kind of reconstituting it back up to the appropriate milk fat percentage.
Got it. Okay. And all right. So what do you think is the best advice you can give chocolate lovers when buying a milk chocolate? What should we look for? Art, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I think the best thing that milk chocolate lovers, or the chocolate lovers anywhere, needs to do is just take a small piece and just fundamentally it's just about enjoyment. We can talk about balance and talk about flavor and about flavor pairings, but all in all, in the end, it's all about what we enjoy. And just because one of us might enjoy something doesn't necessarily mean that any other particular person might enjoy it, or even see or taste the same things. So it's just about slowing down and taking time, and about savoring, and about enjoying what we eat.
Brian, how about you? What's the best advice you can give chocolate lovers when buying a milk chocolate?
I mean, whether it's milk chocolate or dark chocolate or both, I think because it is so subjective. Buy a lot of it and taste a lot of different chocolates from a lot of different makers, and find the ones that you really enjoy or that resonate with you, because there is a lot of good milk chocolate out there, but we just have to find it.
Okay. So we're going to give our viewers a list of the fine milk chocolates that they should definitely try at the end of this discussion. And now I'm going to put you on the spot. Besides your own products, which I'm sure you love, can you name a fine milk chocolate that you think everyone should try? Art.
Well, I'm not sure. I'll have to check to see if it's still available. But Scharfenberger, which of course is now owned by Hershey's, unfortunately, they did a dark milk, which was extremely munchable, and so. I'm not. That was probably one of the more eye-opening dark milks for me, and there's some nice things that are happening with the milks in terms of what's happening with Cluzel and some others. So those would definitely be the places I'd start.
How about you, Brian?
Yeah, I've got two that immediately came to mind. One of Patrick's milk chocolates. I think it's I don't know if it's a regular product or a limited release, but his Sweet and Sassy milk chocolate was really fantastic. And Lonohana, their Nene milk, is probably one of the best milk chocolates I've ever tasted.
Fabulous. All right, so you're both very supportive of the direct cacao movement. Can you tell us what it is and why you're involved? Art?
Absolutely. Well, direct cacao is all about creating a framework where it's easier to facilitate the communication and buying directly with the farmers. And we're a founding member of the group Direct Cacao, which is great. That's pretty much all. When we buy cocoa, we buy almost all our cocoa exclusively, directly. That doesn't mean that we don't necessarily use a broker or at times to, facilitate the importation of the cocoa or financing or the risk management. Risk management's an important thing in the chocolate world. I had a friend of mine that ended up having his container of cocoa stolen, full container, put him out of business. So sometimes you end up, using a broker to mitigate those sorts of risks. But in the end, what we do is we travel down there and we work with the farmers directly and build those relationships, and that enables us to get good quality cocoa and perhaps better quality than we would have otherwise. And those relationships are, quite frankly, one of the most valuable things that I've ever had, is just that those friendships. And so that's what, and I'm sure everybody in the direct cacao movement, that's just experiencing exactly the same sorts of things.
Yeah. No, I think friendships in this business are everything. Brian, how about you?
Yeah, I've been doing this professionally for not quite as long as Art, but we're definitely trying to spend as much time as possible traveling and forging those relationships directly with farmers and cooperatives. Though, at times we do work with brokers, but I found that the other chocolate makers in our community are incredibly supportive. So, in many cases, we'll partner with other chocolate makers who are bringing in beans directly and working directly with farms, whereas it wouldn't make sense for us as a really small chocolate maker to do the same, but pooling our resources has been really beneficial. So.
That's great. So I want to close with a thank you to Art Pollard of Amano Chocolate and Brian Graham of Fruition Chocolate Works for taking time out of your busy day to join in on the conversation and helping us all to understand more about fine milk chocolate. Thanks for watching, and we have a little homework for chocolate lovers. Check out our latest École Chocolat Google Plus posting with our suggested fine milk chocolate bar tasting list, or see our suggested fine milk chocolate bar tasting list at the end of this video.